Fisker. Tonight we're talking episode number 9 of the show. That's right, episode 9 of All Things Fisker. We've done this for, just over 2 months on and off, but episode 9, I'm here with my two very special co-hosts. We have Jim from OSR Garage and Matt from Tesla Tips by Mountain Ranger. He's up at the top, Jim's down at the bottom, and I'm over on the other side of the screen right here. Hello, everybody. Want to start off by thanking everybody for taking the time to be with us tonight. We do have the chat open tonight, so if you have any questions, feel free to post your questions in the chat and we will answer them. We will do our best to answer them real time as we're doing it. That seems to be the best versus having to answer them all at the very end of the show. So we'll go ahead and answer your questions as we're going. A couple shout outs. We don't have too many people online yet, but we probably will get some more people as the time progresses. But hello, Rosanna. Thanks for saying hi to the three of us, and Shane as well.
We can always count on Rosanna.
That's nice. Yeah, it's nice to see the same people showing up every week after week. It's actually really cool. So we got a pretty action-packed show tonight. We have quite a few things that happened since Wednesday of last week. So we're going to talk about the episode. So for the people that are listening, or the people who want to listen to this in the podcast version, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on Google Podcasts and Spotify. Those are the three. I think there might be a fourth one I forgot. Haven't done it in a while, but those are the main three. Spotify probably my favorite. Do the two of you listen to any podcasts by chance?
You just use YouTube as a podcast.
Okay. What ones do you listen to, Matt?
Oh, I listen to a lot of business ones for my work. So a lot of the Planet Money and those type.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I listen to a few as well from CNBC. They pretty much have every one of their shows as a podcast. So when I go for a run every day, I'll turn one of those on and listen to it, which I very much enjoy. Great way to catch up on stuff. So if you want to catch up on this show or any of the other shows of All Things Fisker, you can head over to my favorite, Spotify. Oh, I forgot one. But the other big one would be Amazon Music. You can find us on Amazon Music as well. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Apple Music. That's where you can find episode 9 from tonight. So we're going to be talking about a few things tonight. A few things actually happened since last week. We ended up getting a lot of new information on the Fisker PEAR. That's probably the biggest thing that's happened between this week and last week. So we're going to talk all about that. We're going to start the show off with that, actually. And then we're going to talk about a few Fisker Ocean updates, some that we got today, believe it or not. And then we're going to also dive into our weekly PSA and tell you about things you need to know now that are going to be happening over the weekend. So that would be your pop-up locations. And then we're going to talk about that short seller report. We're going to briefly talk about that, primarily Fisker's response to that short seller report. And then we're going to talk about some other stuff relating to the Fisker stock and so forth. So that's our show lineup for the night. So let's kick it off with a video. So I'm sitting, believe it or not, I'm going to set this up. I'm sitting in the jacuzzi on Sunday night, and I'm looking at my phone, and boom, I get a message on my Gmail. I open it up, and it has the subject PEAR, all capital letters, PEAR, and I'm like, what's this? So I look at every email that comes through. I respond probably to 99% of the emails, even if they're stuff that I probably shouldn't spend the time responding to. I typically respond to everything. But a few of them I throw into the spam folder or to the trash. But nevertheless, Sunday night about 7:30, I received an email titled PEAR. I opened it. There's a video attached to it. It said it was video.mov. I click it, and lo and behold, it's a car going down a bridge. And I'm like, what is this? Is this really the PEAR? It can't be the PEAR. Nobody would send me the PEAR. Fisker's going to release the PEAR on their own. Wouldn't you two think that if they're going to end up shooting a video, wouldn't they post it to their own Instagram or Twitter? At least that's what I thought. But I got this email and it said, "Hey, Sean, I got this from a friend and thought you'd be interested in it. Send it over to me." So thank you. I don't want to say your name because you didn't say I could say your name. So thank you very much. You know who you are, who sent it. As far as I know, no affiliation with Fisker whatsoever. But the clip, I opened it up, I downloaded it to my iPhone, and it had all the metadata, and it was shot actually on a brand new iPhone 14, which is surprising because I saw, Matt, in one of your comments in the Fisker Audi forums, I think you mentioned like, geez, it's like, low resolution, or maybe you emailed it to me, it's like low resolution. And the funny thing is, whoever shot this, some said, oh, on an old Nokia phone or, whatever. But I think whoever sent it purposefully meant to send it in low resolution so we couldn't see many details of the Fisker PEAR rolling down the 6th Street viaduct in Los Angeles. But that's just my guess. Maybe it came from Fisker through somebody else. Maybe it didn't. I have no clue. Some people said, hey, you planned this. Like, how could you be there and get the video? You would never know it's coming down the bridge. And I was like, you're right. I didn't get the video. I didn't shoot the video. I didn't shoot it. I got it from somebody else. So that's what we're going to show. So here it is right now. There it is, 9 seconds of glory right there. The Fisker PEAR, the second electric vehicle that Fisker is going to be producing in 2024, mid-2024, if I recall, with Foxconn. And it's going to be produced over in Lordstown, Ohio. And it's going to have a starting price of $29,900 without any government incentives. And Jim, you're going to like this, or without adding any upgrades to the vehicle. Because as we know, we have to pay some extra money for additional upgrades if we don't want to pay the base price for what you get in the base model. So Jim did I nodded at Jim because Jim did a video that he shared with me today about, he used the configurator, went through a whole bunch of stuff, and he did 2 configurations for the Fisker Sport. So check out the OSR Garage channel if you want that one. It was pretty good. We'll probably do a post to that over the weekend on the site and give some of our own commentary with it. So that'll be pretty cool. So yeah, the Fisker PEAR. When I saw that video, when you guys first saw that video, I posted it. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't until I wrote the article. But the video, I posted it to the YouTube channel that night while I was sitting in the jacuzzi, and I captioned it just Fisker EV. And then I said, like, rolling down the street or, on the bridge or whatever it was. But I didn't know it was the Fisker PEAR. Even though someone told me it was the Fisker PEAR, I didn't want to shout out and tell, 3,500 people that subscribe to the Fisker Audi channel, hey, this is the Fisker PEAR, because I didn't want to give out, bad information. But I thought it was actually pretty cool. It looked like the Fisker Ocean, and they did some pretty stealthy things to try to throw us off. So I want to talk about those. What were your guys' impressions when you saw that video? What did you think? Love to get it.
I think I replied on the Instagram post that you put up. There's like a picture of it, and I was like, well, it looks like a little ocean or a lake or pond, if you want to call it that. Because it is. It looks a lot like it from the side, just a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to look a lot different when the way he was talking about how it was going to look. I really expected to see something crazy, but it kind of reminds me of the Nissan Rogue from the side.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard a whole bunch of different. I've heard Equinox, Kia Soul. I've heard a whole bunch of different. What it reminds people of. Matt ended up just posting up a really cool image. He took one of the images from the patent application, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. So Fisker ended up posting, I didn't post. They filed a patent a little while ago to protect the innovation on the Fisker PEAR, and they wanted to protect the storage because they do have an innovative storage feature, not only in the rear of the vehicle, but also in the front trunk area of the vehicle. It's actually a drawer. I'm seeing quite a glitchy looking thing there, Matt. I don't know if you see that as well, or if it's just my screen.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's doing that, but
okay. Well, maybe it'll stop doing it. Here, let me turn it off, and then I'll throw it. It's still doing it. That's bizarre. So maybe you could try sharing it one more time. Matt ended up putting up a couple different images there. The first one he did at the top, as I mentioned, that was from the Fisker patent application around storage, and we're gonna talk about that in just a minute. The second image that he had there was a Fisker PEAR image, or photo, I should say, that was actually shared with I believe a German publication, definitely a media site based out of Europe. Okay, cool. Let's. I don't see your screen, and it's going to end up being it. I see all three of us on your screen right now.
Oh, okay. Let me try it again.
So that last image that Matt will get up here and we'll talk about is a rendering that Henrik Fisker shared, and he ended up throwing what looked like fire or some sort of cover up, and it's still doing a little glitchy stuff. But
yeah, I'm not sure why it's glitching.
Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead and talk about the first one. Those are all side views, very nice, cool side views. Talk about that bottom one, Matt.
Yeah, that was one that Henrik had posted, I think, a couple weeks ago on Instagram, and it was like kind of like a taking the panels off and the doors off and showing what the basic structure of the car looks like from the side. One thing that was interesting is the wheels were all 20-inch, so that's how I compared it to the Ocean when I did a graphic for that one. But I put all these side by side, and you can see the resemblance between the bottom two. The patent one looks a little different proportion. Like, wouldn't you say, like, some of the door sizes look a little different?
Yeah,
But we don't know. Yeah, we don't know if the patent is actually, maybe a first revision, and that the actual, prototypes that we see here are maybe closer to what he envisions as, production.
Yeah. So in the patent, they actually say they're exemplary illustrations, and that means that they're not going to be very detailed. They just need to convey the words that are associated with the patent or associated with the innovation, the technology that they're trying to patent. And so we get a very low fidelity image there. And all of them are pretty low fidelity, I would say, compared to that bottom image you're showing on the screen there that has loads of detail, probably a rendering as well. But then, somebody, probably Henrik or his art team or whoever does his stuff there, got like the paintbrush and put spray paint, or what I thought was, like fire. But looking at the screen again, they used the spray paint to show to hide, I would say, some of the more innovative design features, very much what the wrap is supposed to do on the car that drove down that bridge, as well as try to conceal a lot of the features, the design elements, like we saw with the Fisker Ocean, right? The Fisker Ocean had the blue camo, whereas I was told all Fisker PEARs that are going to be out in the wild for the foreseeable future will have this green, pearish-looking wrap on it. So you can see underneath the Fisker logo in that middle image, for those that are listening on the podcast, it's a camouflaged, Fisker PEAR, and on the passenger door, as well as the driver door and the hood of the vehicle, there's actually, a picture of a fruit that happens to be the pear or a pear. So that's kind of funny. But one thing I wanted to pull up, this image right here, and I'm going to blow it up actually for us to see. So similar to the one that you shared there in the middle, Matt, I have one that actually quite a few of them, but we're going to just start with this first one. There happens to be what looks to me a cutout of the camo wrapping that would make it look like there is what would basically make it look like there is a window in the rear of the vehicle. So you guys probably saw that if people zoomed in at, in the image. You can definitely see in this particular shot right here, this is actually the camo was totally wrapped around, and somebody ended up probably came pre-cut, but that's actually from my from what I've looked into, based on the patent application. That's just trying to throw us off on the design. They ended up making it look like the rear window of the Fisker Ocean, which is the first thing I saw when I saw that vehicle rolling down the street. I thought, is that a PEAR? I can't tell if it's a PEAR. I don't recall the Fisker. Is it an Ocean? Is it a PEAR? I don't know, because I didn't think the Fisker PEAR would have a window like that in the rear. So that was the first thing that I saw thrown off. Now I'm going to switch over to I'm going to show two more images really quick. So that was the first one. The second one is a different view. On this one, if I zoom in here as well, you might have a better idea of this particular cut in the vinyl, maybe a little bit more prominent in the vinyl there, but you can see a few different things going on. For example, right here, if you guys can see mouse pointer, so this little bit right here, I believe that's cut out. They try to keep it with the same, edge right here of the vehicle. We do know that the Fisker PEAR will likely end up having, I think they said it will have the solar sky roof, which makes me believe that it may end up also having a glass roof, like the big sky glass roof potentially. So I believe that this is covering up a bunch of, this right here is not going to be, it's real shiny metal. I don't think it's actually glass. I think that's actually shiny metal. And they try to make it have the illusion of a window, but you see a lot more reflection of the sun in this image than you do right here. So I don't think this is glass.
Hey, Sean.
Yeah, fire
Sean,
away.
I think it's actually black vinyl that they did. It's
Okay.
just I think over the other vinyl. So I think it's just vinyl.
Sense. Yeah.
That's why it's
Instead
kind of
of
like
cutting
that
it
matte
out.
looking.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
just kind
probably
of
more like
popped it on.
Yeah, that you make a great point. It's probably more vinyl added onto it.
Did you also notice that the mirrors are the same as the Ocean along with the wheels?
Yeah, these are definitely air gliders with some sort of a paint or maybe even vinyl stickers on them.
Yep.
Yeah, who knows, right? You think vinyl? Okay, probably that's the cheaper, more economical way of doing it is to throw some vinyl on there. But yeah, the mirrors actually looked to me smaller on one of the angles, like right there. No, those are the same. Illusion, zooming in. But yeah, you're right. There they are. And then you got wipers there, and they definitely have an interior. You can see one of the headrests right there. But yeah, blacked out back window, so you can't really see what's going on in there. Were there any other features aside from maybe the radar in the front that you might have saw? Like the grille looks similar.
Yeah, the grille looks very similar too.
Yeah.
And I think even though this is a different platform with Foxconn, they tried to make the front very similar to the Ocean. It has kind of like a little concaveness where the grille would be, but overall, with the name on it, it looks very similar.
Yeah, you ended up saying to me offline, I think, like, hey, quite when hey, there's a family resemblance here, and very much so. Definitely,
I think it's interesting that they actually left the PEAR letters on the front. Usually they mask and cover up every single detail of it, so you can't tell. I know they put the Fisker on the side, and people would figure out what it was, but still, a lot of times they just cover up everything.
Yeah. And right below, the thing that differentiates the Fisker Pair from the Ocean as far as the design in the front end, obviously it looks a little shorter, the hood, but down below that Pair, logo and the Fisker emblem is our drawer. And we found that out through the Fisker patent application. So let's go ahead and pull that up, the patent application. That is actually kind of interesting, I would say. And it ends up, yeah, so it's like the Fisker Ocean doesn't have any storage in the front. It doesn't have a frunk or a drawer or whatever you want to call a drawer in the front of a car. That's probably a real bad name for it. But you definitely have storage on the Fisker Pair, which actually is kind of cool. And as you'll see in the image here of the patent application, it's clear that when you look at the Pair, you can actually see that the actual real image, it's kind of a little bit of a concave. And who knows how this will retract from the front of the vehicle. Maybe it's a push a button on the inside on the display and it pops out. Maybe it's a push in, kind of like the taco tray, and then it pops out. We don't know how Fisker has designed that. But one thing that I thought was actually pretty interesting was how they described the Fisker, Pair patent application. And they described this in the following words. So this is the abstract. So it says, disclosed are improved features of a vehicle, including a front storage access feature and a rear storage access feature. So they're saying, hey, we're going to provide you a whole bunch of images, and it's going to be a front storage and rear storage. And the front storage access feature includes a front drawer, including a front display panel. So that's like, it looks like it just blends in with the design of the vehicle, which makes it kind of like a hidden drawer. The front display panel can be between a front left light and a rear left light. The front drawer can be configured to extend to allow access to a front storage area, and the front drawer can be configured to retract to close access to a front storage area and form a front-facing surface. Kind of interesting. And then it says the rear access storage feature includes a rear gate. I think the keyword there might be the rear gate, including a rear display panel. The rear display panel can be between a rear left light and a rear right light. The rear gate can be configured to extend, to retract, to allow access to a rear storage area. Now, if we look at the patent application and I go over one here, this is the patent application of the rear, the illustration, the exemplary image. Now, you'll see an arrow pointing downward at the rear of the vehicle, and you have a little box to the side of that arrow. That is what I believe is the storage area. And that particular area, I remember when we interviewed Henrik Fisker on the channel, he ended up saying that the cool thing about the Fisker Pair, it's a city car. It's designed for the city, and it's designed for tight places. So you could imagine if you have to back up into a parking space, or you're in just a really tight area and you need to access your trunk, you can do so without having to open up, a hatchback or, some sort of a rear trunk. So what this is going to do, from my understanding, is that box in the back, who knows how much, volume it'll have, but it's going to retract up and down somehow so that you can put stuff in it and store extra things without having to, open up the rear hatch. Now, that's my understanding. When you guys saw this, did you guys have did it make sense to you, or what were your thoughts?
Well, I'll start. The picture does look like the back window and the hatch just kind of recedes into the bumper area, is what it appears to me. But I'm not sure exactly, because they show those other boxes, and I'm not sure what that's supposed to represent.
Got it. Yeah, so I think the storage area is this bit right here, this little bit, or this box here going down into the, the rear bumper. I think that's the the storage area that they're referring to. So it's like extra storage. Like I envision it being something like under my existing car, I have the trunk, and then I can lift up a hatch or some sort of a cover, and then down below I have additional storage. Now I view this as probably something very similar. You're going to have your rear trunk space, your rear cargo area, and then you're going to have the secret hidden cargo area, which will go up and down. That's my guess of it. I could be completely wrong, and I probably am, but that's how I think this is going to end up working. So you're going to have obviously the cargo area that you would have with the existing car, should there not be any Houdini trunk, which is what they call this. But this is just extra bonus storage that people are going to end up getting, much like the storage in the front of the vehicle in that drawer. What were your thoughts, Jim?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, here's another.
It just looks like a box hanging off the back of it.
Yeah. Well, that's another shot of it. So you have the rear tailgate too, the rear gate, and that also retracts somehow. So you end up having, instead of having, that lift gate or the tailgate going up, it looks like you're going to end up having, it's going to retract down further as well. So there's going to be maybe a box of storage that can go up and down. In addition, that what typically, I'm probably saying the wrong word, but like a hatch, the rear hatch would normally kind of flap up like it does on most vehicles, or pop up. In this case, from these drawings and my understanding of reading it, I think that window somehow it's going to retract or go into the vehicle, so that you can, you don't have to, kind of like the rear window of the Fisker Ocean, how it goes down into the body of the vehicle. I think that's what's going to happen here with that rear part of the car, and something tells me it's going to all be glass from the look of it. So you have a lot of glass on this car.
I'll just put the Tesla Model X doors on the hatch, and it just kind of pops up and opens up over the top of everything.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. They probably have a patent on that one. What do you bet?
I'm sure.
I'm sure they do. So yeah, so the PEAR. So we learned a few different things. The design is out there now. We have the full front, side, rear of the vehicle. We have the patent application, which is probably the most revealing before we got these images. We know it can actually drive. It's not being pushed down a hill. It's not being pulled by anything. It actually drives. It's a driving prototype. There's some design elements that I still don't get. I don't have a clue. Like if you look at this patent image right here, there's this what looks like some sort of I don't even know what that shape is, like a pill shape on the side of the door. Like that is clearly not visible.
It's like a Pez dispenser.
A Pez dispenser. There you go. I couldn't think of what that is. I have no clue what that is. Maybe it's like for air to come in somehow, or maybe maybe it's a way for you to step like they do on the Rivian. Like you can push something on the side, step up and load stuff somewhere, but I don't see people loading any lumber or anything on the roof of this unless there's a roof rack of some sorts. So I don't know what that is. Is it you put your foot in there to step up? Is it to let air flow in somehow, somewhere for whatever reason? Or is it to throw people off? Maybe it's to throw people off. Beats me.
It's a giant reflector.
Or it's a giant reflector. So now let's go ahead and look and see what questions we have for so far.
I got one.
I
got one here. Somebody wants to know when they're going to announce it, I guess, officially.
That's a good question. Your guess is as good as mine. I would have thought, like they did the interior of the Fisker Ocean, the interior of the Fisker PEAR. They did a really cool press release, and I want to say, I can't remember what earnings call it was, but they did it the night before the earnings call. They dropped some photos, and then I think the morning of, they may have done the press release. And it was like, amazing talking points for Henrik Fisker when he did all of his interviews, and they talked about it on the earnings call. It was quite awesome. We didn't get that with the exterior of the vehicle, but I think this is pretty neat that they did it, and maybe there will be an official announcement, and maybe we'll see some other. Maybe we'll get a press release. I would recommend a press release because more people see it. But I'll tell you, this video, while it might have, I don't even know how many views it has, probably 10,000, maybe a little bit more than that. It didn't have tons of views. The article that was included in the article got a lot more than 10,000 page views, and that was just on the Fiskerati site. Now this video has popped up, I would say, on 30 different sites that end up doing so on media sites. There's probably too much information for the people that are listening along or watching us. But on blogs, you can install some software that's called trackbacks, and anytime another WordPress site ends up using links from another WordPress site, it can kick a response out or a message out when their article's published and say, hey, I have, I'm linking to your site. Can you link back to my site? And you basically can say, approve or, spam, trash, whatever. So it's a way to do kind of like the old school, hey, will you put a link on your site? I'll put a link on my site. But this article got loads and loads of trackbacks on it. And I've seen on Google News and across social media sites, that video has popped up everywhere. And some people have downloaded the video and re-uploaded it, which is interesting. So it's gotten a lot more than 10,000 views, which is pretty cool. But a press release typically gets covered on more sites. But 30 plus articles that I've seen, pretty phenomenal for the company not officially announcing it. And maybe they will announce it here over the coming weeks, coming days. Who knows? That will be exciting. So maybe more to come from them. That's the fun stuff. Now I see some question here. At least I thought I saw a question here. Was it at the top? All right, we got a question here. Does anyone, and this might have to do more with it actually has to do with the Ocean, but it says, does anyone know if the rear windows can be rolled down individually without using California mode? And they're referring to the Fisker Ocean. So can the windows be rolled down individually? As far as I know, yes to that particular question for the driver, passenger, front, and rear. As far as the doggy windows go, I know that there's going to be a control switch to roll them up and down, as well as in California mode.
I think it's on the overhead, overhead panel, I think.
Okay. Yeah. There's also going to be something, as far as I know, in the UI display as well, because I read that in the patent application, where there's going to be a single button, not only, or at least that's what it was initially thought for. So maybe it's changed. When we actually sat in the vehicle and test drove the vehicle, none of that stuff. We didn't get to play with California mode. But I did roll down the window to see if the windows rolled down, and they were smooth. It was like the existing car I have. You press it, it goes down. You pull it, it goes back up. So the doggy windows are the only ones I'm not sure about whether you'll be able to roll them down individually. But something tells me you will be able to do so. But we'll find out, and one of the three of us will probably bring you a video of it at some point. Not with a dog though in mind. There'd probably be no dog. Do you guys have dogs?
Yeah.
All right. Great. So you guys will actually have dogs testing out the doggy windows. Now I live near.
I don't know about that.
Has, okay, you don't know about that. I live near a beach that has lots of dogs, but I don't think I'll do that.
My wife doesn't like having the dogs in the car. Well, she doesn't mind them being in my car. She just doesn't want them at hers. So
it's funny.
So
how that
usually
works
she
out,
takes
doesn't it?
mine and I take hers for the day.
So we have another question as well around the curvature of the actual glass. We didn't talk about that one. That's actually something really
I was going to mention that.
You should have mentioned it. You gotta mention that one. That was a good one. So let's pull that up one more time. We're gonna pull up the screen, or the front windshield, the windscreen of the Fisker PEAR, and we can take a look at that one. This is probably the best one for it. Zoom in here, and there it is on my screen. Now let me share my screen. So if the people don't know who are watching this or listening in, Fisker actually talked about in their initial press release about like a canopy-like, fighter jet screen or windshield that will be on the Fisker PEAR. And it's actually pretty cool because it'll allow people to see more of a view. It'll allow you to have more of a view out of the front windshield, whether you're the driver or the passenger. And if you look at this particular image we have on the screen, it definitely protrudes from the sides of the vehicle. There's definitely a bit of a curve. It's definitely more apparent in the illustration that Fisker provided when we talked about in that press release of the Fisker PEAR, and they talked about the interior and all that stuff. But I see the curve on here. Will it curve more? I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on this canopy-like glass?
I was picturing it, and it's not that there couldn't be vinyl over the top, but I pictured it as one big piece of glass that went all the way back. But if it's going to have the solar sky roof, then that's not going to happen. It's going to cut off at some point. And they could have vinyl on it now, but that's what I was picturing, was one big piece of glass. And why I think they were talking about it being so hard to get glass manufacturers with that big of a piece of glass and curving. And I know Tesla had that issue also whenever you wanted to replace your glass in your, I don't remember which one it was. Was it the S that was curved all the way across, or was it the Y?
The Model X. Model X.
The X, okay.
Yeah.
So that gets replaced. I mean, it's really hard. It's really expensive to replace those. And maybe they changed it. Maybe that was their original intention, and they decided to go away from that because it was going to be so hard to get. But
got it. Now you're referring to probably this image here. So when we pull up this image, you end up seeing this is the interior shot. It's actually taken from the exterior passenger side window. It shows the seats, it shows the doors, the steering wheel, the display, and a city in the distance. And that city is seen through that glass canopy. And like you mentioned, you do see much more of a curve. So something tells me, looking at that vehicle, that wrap is covering up a lot more of the glass than they want us to see. It covers up a lot of the glass, I bet you.
I totally agree. Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Let's go take a look again. Yeah. So, that glass, it might go up to here maybe, and maybe even some of the side pillar here, maybe that could potentially be glass too. Hard to tell with that black bit right there, but that could be vinyl as well. Maybe they vinyled it up right there. That looks like there could be a piece of maybe vinyl right there. Detective Sean, Matt, and Jim on the case here. Yeah, that could be some vinyl right there to make it look not as curved. But who knows? Exciting stuff. Can't wait to see more of the Fisker PEAR. So that is the Fisker PEAR, everybody, and everything that we learned about it this week. Now, the next thing up on our show tonight is some Fisker Ocean updates. We ended up getting a couple different updates from Henrik Fisker, primarily today. He was actually quite quiet, I would say, on social media over the past week, probably for good reason, but also he's hard at work trying to get the Fisker Ocean vehicles delivered. And the first customer who's going to be receiving the vehicles will end up being Magna International. And Henrik and the entire Fisker team said that they're going to be delivering 15 Fisker Ocean vehicles in the month of December to Magna. So today we woke up with a photo of several Fisker Oceans, and this is the very first time that I have seen we'll call it a row of Fisker Oceans together that were all in great white. Now, this is the base color, the cheapest color of the Fisker Oceans, the free color, I should say, the standard color.
Do you guys see what I'm seeing? Those wheels are the F6s, but they are not silver.
No, they are not. Those happen to be what look like the F6 Vortex wheel in black. That was, Jim, thank you, ding, 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 you're the winner. That was one of the things we were going to mention. That was probably one of the highlights, if you will, in the image that we saw. So there they are. If we can zoom up.
Did you see my post on this?
Them right there. I didn't. What'd you share?
I posted that if you that it's mostly in the shade, and if you increase the shadow detail, you'll see that it's the same wheel. It's just the silver is dark. If you lighten up the picture, I have it posted on the Fiskerati message board, but it's actually it's silver, because if you look at the center cap is black, and the spokes are still silver. Yep. When you increase the shadow detail, you'll see.
Yeah,
I think it's just
right.
just a
optical illusion.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
but if they do have a black one, I prefer the black version of it. I would order that for my one.
Now I thought it was black, and it made sense being black because the Slipstream and the Air Glider both come in black. So it would only make sense to create a second option for the Vortex wheel in all black, because that's actually a more premium version. They actually charge a few $100s more for that version. So it's an easy upsell for somebody, or an easy, make an extra few $100 on the wheel. So that's interesting. I'll have to, play with, or I'll just look at your post. That's how busy I've been today. I haven't had an opportunity to play on the Fiskerati forums, but I'll have to check out your post. I know I think I posted these images on the forum this morning, and then went off to do other stuff. Today was my homeschooling day, so I actually did a lot of homeschooling. So I didn't have time to play around on the site, wrote a couple articles, and that was about it. But I saw somebody say, hey, I've already uploaded that, or I've already mentioned those in another post. I was like, sorry about that. It is what it is. At some point, I'll merge the threads together, I guess. Maybe I'll do that. But okay, you win. So Jim spotted it. I spotted it.
I mean, I could be wrong. I have no idea.
I'll say I didn't see these when I was in Austria. I didn't see anything in black, but a lot's happened probably in a month's time. So it's entirely possible that there could be a black one. That's why I led with, it appears that the Vortex wheels on that vehicle happen to be a black option. So who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Interesting playing around with the Photoshop. You're the Photoshop king over there, huh? That's pretty good. So then the other thing that we got today, so aside from seeing all these things, we zoom in here. I don't know what this is, but like there's a whole bunch of you have like stickers. Yeah. And we've seen stickers before on the interior. Yeah, maybe checklist. And then you have like some sort of was it 6,000 or something like that? And then you got some blue. You got some
maybe
blue
quality
sticker.
Control.
Quality control, yeah. Like they have like I've noticed this in the images before, and this is so grainy when you zoom in on it. But like the pull handles, the door handles, still have like the I don't know what that is. Is it cloth or plastic? Probably plastic or some sort of cellophane on it. So you don't get them dirty, right, or damage them. But like these right here, something tells me, and this is once again a guess, total guess. Something tells me these vehicles right here. There's actually a BMW right over here. I don't know if you guys saw that one in the shot. It looks like I don't know what type of BMW, but maybe one of the BMWs that they make at the same manufacturing plant. But something tells me 15 vehicles need to be delivered to Magna this month, and who knows what color those are going to be. But if I was Magna and I was buying 15 Fisker Oceans for a fleet, chances are I'm going to be buying the base model. Maybe I'll throw some Vortex wheels on just to make them look a little snazzier. Maybe Fisker will throw those in for free. But I'll go with probably Great White in my fleet order, right? So those could be 3 of the 15 of the fleet order. Who knows? Maybe so. That's pretty neat, though. We're going to get a PR for that one, I bet you. I bet you Fisker will do an official announcement for delivering those first 15 here in December. I'll bet on it. I don't know how much I'll bet, but I'll bet on it. So there's the first little thing that we found out today. The next thing with the Fisker Ocean is that we got this image here. Henrik Fisker is in Graz, Austria. You checked to see Fisker Oceans rolling off the line. He also said he was going to do, ABAS testing as well. More testing, interesting. Wants to maybe perfect it so we all have a great experience. But this is Fisker Ocean in night drive. Now, I've seen maybe 2 images, maybe 1. I've seen a bunch of them actually in the factory of the Fisker Ocean in night drive rolling down the assembly line a couple months ago. I was trying to look through all the images that I have. I must have 1,000 images of the Fisker Ocean on the Fisker Audi server. And I didn't see one pop up in night drive other than the ones from the configurator and the ones that are on the line. So to me, this might be the first one where we see a real cool, side shot of the Fisker Ocean wearing what looks to be like the silver slipstreams, the 22-inch slipstreams. That's a very cool combination of the vehicle.
Can you zoom in on the door handles?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see. What do we have here? I think those are they're like the little tape marks.
Yeah, it looks like tape. Yeah.
Unless you're looking at the reflection. I was like,
maybe. I was looking at them. I was like, those look a lot like the Tesla handles from way back.
Yeah, and one thing that when our reporter, who's also maybe watching the show here, from Chicago, who ended up going to the Paris Motor Show. He's the one that spotted the very nice design feature on the handle of the Fisker Ocean. So on the Tesla and maybe some other vehicles, the BMW I had, when you pull the door handle, it's just like a flat backing on the handle. But when you actually pull out the Fisker Ocean door handle, or when it pops out and you pull it to open the door, it actually has grooves on it for your fingers. So your fingers have a nice, better grip to pull them out. It's a nice feature. And I haven't seen that on many cars. First one I've seen it on was the Fisker Ocean. So a very nice detail on the vehicle. But yeah, that's definitely the Magna Stera factory. I do recall seeing a lot.
I got one more thing to talk about.
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. Look at my shared picture and look at the front of the wheel area. You see that reflector? It's a long reflector.
Yes.
Right by the wheel.
Yep.
If you look at the one that we just showed, the black one, it's totally different.
Let's go back and take a look at that one. So you have that, it's like an orange color reflector on the front of the driver and passenger side wheel. Now let's go back and take a look at this.
Oh, yeah.
And let me zoom in once more.
It's much smaller now.
You are a detective. That's a good one. That is small, right?
The one that you showed Matt there, you could see that there was an opening between the reflector, and I'm wondering if this is maybe not. Maybe this is just on the car. So that's like, for aerodynamics, for the air to pass through, but maybe on the other one, since it's so small, maybe it's actually not. Maybe they went away from that. I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
There's also something else I've seen. When people have done videos and when they touch it, it actually moves. That rectangular piece, some people mentioned in some reviews that it was kind of loose. So I don't know if they've revised it. Hard to say.
Now, I'm going to drop an interesting bomb on the two of you that you guys may or may not know about. And you probably can't see it in this image here. You actually can. So have a look here. It's kind of interesting. You have two Fisker Ocean. Actually, you have a bunch of Fisker Oceans here. You have one in black and night drive, right? And then you have a couple in camo. There's actually a subtle difference between the two of these. Aside from maybe the reflectors, if you can see here, the ones in camo don't actually have those orange reflectors on them. But not that. What did you say, Jim? You might have guessed it.
Mirrors.
Yeah, the mirrors. The mirrors are different. And I actually was when I was in Graz, Austria. The Fisker Oceans that I drove had a smaller mirror, if I recall, than the Fisker Ocean that was sitting in the room where we presented. Or where not we didn't present, where we heard the presentation. So the Fisker Ocean sold in Europe, they have different requirements, different laws, where the mirror has to be a certain size, the glass part of the mirror, compared to the United States. The mirror in the United States, a little bit more, high profile, smaller. I think it looks a little sportier. There's nothing, bad looking about the larger mirror, but I do prefer the sleeker, smaller looking mirror that comes on the version that, we'll be getting here in the United States, possibly even North America, all of North America, maybe even Canada. But yeah, that's something that I don't think many people actually know about. The mirrors actually are different. Unless you probably grow up in Europe and the mirror's the mirror, it's always the same size. You probably don't know that it's smaller in different parts of the country, but lo and behold, it is. So that was new news to me. Kind of interesting. So, all right.
And actually, I was gonna say in some parts of Europe that they aren't even required to have the mirror. They can actually use a camera and have the mirrors cameras projecting inside the car in the corners.
That's pretty interesting. What cars do that?
I've seen it. I don't know which ones are doing it at the moment.
Audi does it.
Okay.
Audi doing it.
I think
Mercedes might be working that way too. So yeah, it's there are some out there that are doing that, but yeah, they're just little small. They're about like that big camera on the outside, and then they have screens in the corners of the dash to actually see the mirrors from behind.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty neat. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, and that digital rear view mirror that's on the Fisker Ocean, that actually was pretty cool. I got to see that one firsthand, and it was actually quite neat seeing the extra parts of the rear glass wasn't covered up in dirt and things like that, so I didn't get probably the full benefit of using the digital rear view mirror, but you definitely have a lot more viewage. I don't know if that's the right word, but like you have a lot more stuff you can see on the side of the vehicle or the rear of the vehicle due to the cameras back there. So that was actually quite a neat feature. I could only imagine what it's like if you didn't have the driver's side and passenger side mirrors. That would even be probably end up leveraging the cameras to give you better viewing potentially. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our PSA for the day. Our PSA for today's show is for the people once again in Florida, right? The people that are in the Sunshine State get a really cool second chance to go see the Fisker Ocean, and it's going to be at the promenade of the Icon Park Promenade. We don't have the specific location of the Fisker Ocean at the promenade, but we do know it's going to be there on December 10th and 11th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. the promenade at Icon Park. It's not far from Disney World. Matt grew up didn't grow up. He went to college not too far from Coral Gables, and he said that he's also been to Icon Park, and I've been there as well. I've eaten at the Shake Shack. They do have a Ferris wheel. They do charge for the Ferris wheel though, but it was a really cool place. It's a very nice what looked like outdoor mall. But the Fisker Ocean will be there somewhere this weekend. So if you go and you want your photos and videos featured, email them to me on the Fiskerati site, and I'll go ahead and share them with all the readers. So that's our PSA for the day. We do not know now, after this particular pop-up location is complete in the books, the Fisker Ocean Road Tour, where's it going to go next? Any guesses? Does anybody have any guesses?
I wish they'd come to my state.
Yeah, Jim, we'll see it. We'll see you in just a minute. Jim's got to step away for a minute. So I believe that the Fisker Ocean, this is just a guess. I'm all about guesses tonight, but the guess is the Fisker Ocean will go to Atlanta, Georgia next. That's my guess. And the reason I believe that is because a lot of people who read our site are from Georgia. There's more people that read Fiskerati in Atlanta, Georgia than there are in both Orlando and I believe Orlando and maybe Miami combined. It's got a lot of people in Georgia nowadays love the Fisker Ocean, especially in Atlanta. So if I was Fisker, that's probably where I'd take it next. Maybe up to your
Sean,
neck
I
of the
could tell you a
woods.
little hint why.
Please do.
Georgia was one of the earliest states to have an EV incentive program.
Okay.
They had a really good one when the Leaf came out, and I think it was one of the highest selling areas of the country outside of California for the Leaf.
Interesting. Now, we ended up it was before Thanksgiving, part of our road trip. We have family that lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and we went up and visited my dad's sister, and she actually had a electric vehicle. I want to say it was a Bolt, a Chevy Bolt, and she had it some years ago, and she got rid of it because she said every time she went to a charging station, she had to wait forever in order to charge her vehicle. And granted, that was a few years ago. There might not have been nearly as many as there are now, but that was one of her reasons for getting rid of it. Maybe someday she'll go back to it as the infrastructure gets built out. But that's definitely the charging infrastructure. Incentives always help people with adoption, right? And I think the charging infrastructure also, the more chargers there are out there, the better off the industry as a whole will be, because people won't get worried about, am I going to run out of battery? Driving across country, there was one time where I thought we might run out of battery or energy, electricity. And we ended up getting a little notification on the screen that said, hey, you better reduce your speed under 70 miles an hour, or you're going to end up with no energy by the time you get to your destination. And then the other sketchy thing too, luckily we had a really strong full charge the morning before we started our journey, but the charging station that we were planning to charge at the destination that we were going to for the day ended up, while we were en route, it ended up going down. So the car was smart enough to know, hey, if you're going to this charging station, there was, you were going to be able to charge your car there, but now that it's down, we're going to reroute you a different route so that you will have enough energy to make it to your destination. So those were a couple of hiccups. One of them was kind of self-inflicted, that being driving well over 70 miles an hour. And I think you two told me, hey, speed has, one of the biggest impacts on your battery. The slower you go, the longer your battery will last. Who knows how slow, but 55 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, 65, probably a good speed. 75, you definitely start seeing, wear on the battery much quicker. I think it was about 9 miles when I did that. Actually, I was driving 65. took it up to 75, a whole 10 miles an hour faster. And the battery for the duration of the trip that we were on went down on a full 350 mile charge. It went down by 9 miles. So that was actually kind of big, a couple percentage points. So there you have it. There you have it. Your PSA, the Fisker Ocean, this weekend, Orlando at Icon Park. TBD on where the Fisker Ocean goes next. Maybe it'll head to Matt's neck of the woods, which is a little further north east, or maybe it'll head over to Jim down in Chicago area, Chicagoland. That might be awesome. The closest place. Yeah. So we'll see. Stay tuned for that. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about tonight, and this is kind of an interesting one. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but you guys may have saw, maybe you didn't, that there was a short seller who went public with a research report, in quotes there, quote, research report, end quote. And it ended up, according to Fisker, the short seller did, attack the company. They put what Fisker said it was they published a purported assessment which contained numerous false and misleading allegations about the company. The person ended up coming up with, page after page of, reasons why this person, whoever this mysterious person is, who goes by the name of Fuzzy Panda, which is kind of a funny name, why they were shorting the stock. And if you're not familiar with what shorting a stock is, or being a short seller, it's the opposite of somebody who buys a stock and holds stock with the hope that the stock appreciates, goes up in price. A short seller is hoping the stock price goes to zero, or ultimately the company goes out of business. What they do is they borrow stock from somebody who holds the stock long, right? So you have two different terms. You have long and short. If you're long a stock, that means you're holding it, you're an owner of it. And if you're short a stock, you don't own it, but you're borrowing it from someone who is long the stock. And what you're doing is you're selling the stock. So you have a sale price of a stock, and your goal is to buy it at a certain point. Hopefully the stock goes down, and then you buy it back. You sell it at a high price and you buy it back at a low price. Whereas if you are hoping the company is a major success, you're buying the stock low and you're selling the stock high. So it's just the opposite, the reverse of somebody who is betting, the company is going to be a success. In this case, if you're a short seller, you're betting the company is, going to fail. So a short seller released a report, and he ended up saying a whole bunch of stuff about the company, primarily around how the company is currently using their cash that they have. And Fisker, I think, had over $800 million in cash or cash equivalents as of the last earnings call. And this person believes they know more about how Fisker is using their cash balance to operate their business than Fisker itself. So that was one of the many things. Maybe the next big point was around intellectual property and what Fisker owns and what they don't own, and what they license and what they don't license. And what Fisker did, this short sale report came out, I want to say around 6:15 Pacific time on Thursday of last week. It was the day after our show, I think. And the person published it online. It was picked up by Bloomberg. It was picked up by CNBC, I think, at the end of the day, and a whole bunch of other publications throughout the day. We saw it. We didn't write anything about it. We were waiting for Fisker to respond. They said they were going to respond, and we wanted to publish their response because that, to me, was more important than what the short seller wrote. It's interesting, you want to hear both sides of something, but this person's going off of they said they got emails from people who worked who previously worked at both Magna, who is building the Fisker, and who did the partnership with Fisker, part of the negotiations. They said they got emails from them. They said they got emails from other people who worked at Fisker. And the first thought I had, having worked at Amazon and other large tech companies, when you work at those companies, before you join, they make you sign non-disclosure agreements. When you leave or before you leave, they make you sign non-disclosure agreements along with non-compete agreements. They make you, they cover all their bases. So I find it a little hard to believe, even if you were disgruntled and angry, that you would share emails that you obviously, if you left the company, you're saving emails to your desktop and things like that. So you're taking company property. The person who shared those things, even if it is true or not, I don't think this, what this guy said is true. But if it was for some reason, the person who's sharing this stuff puts themselves at extreme. They give themselves extreme liability for doing so, because I would imagine they signed some sort of a non-disclosure agreement. Now, when I ended up visiting the Magna factory, I had to sign all sorts of stuff just to get in the factory that said I wouldn't take pictures and I wouldn't do this and I wouldn't do that. So if this is a Magna employee who shared this, they have all sorts of stuff that would not incent them to do so. So I find it hard to believe what the short seller says. Secondly, we've learned a lot about Fisker intellectual property over the last good year, and having visited the factory, I've actually seen the equipment that Fisker owns that makes all this stuff. And Fisker talked a lot about their intellectual property when I was there. And the funny thing today, so let me talk about the statement. So I don't want to, people can believe what they want to believe, but Fisker came out and strongly denied what this short seller said, who's betting against the company. They said after the stock market closed on Thursday, they issued their statement and said, Fisker Inc. does not have a bank guarantee with Magna, and Fisker owns the intellectual property for the Fisker Ocean platform. The Ocean platform does not have 80% carryover parts from any other platform. And then they went on to tell us that they sent this cease and desist letter to the short seller firm or individual, whoever it may be, and they're going to take immediate and aggressive action to address the false and misleading claims. So I believe Fisker more than I believe the short seller, based on my own personal experiences. But everybody needs to, read the report, decide for themselves. But I take Fisker's word that what these short sellers have published are false and misleading allegations about the company. So that's all I want to say about it. I don't want to give the gentleman any more time than it's worth. But I'm sure you two read the report, right? Or at least had a quick browse. Yeah. I think everybody who owns the stock probably did. So interesting. I have some other interesting information about the short seller too that we'll probably share at another time. But I also wanted to share something that I thought was actually pretty interesting. So we covered this end of the day after Fisker did this announcement, and we ended up writing in our particular article that we thought Fisker should go publicly after the short sellers, and not just this individual who published this report, but Fisker, as of I think yesterday, they had 29.89 or 29.8% of their shares that are publicly traded are sold short. So basically a third, for every 3 shares that are out there, one of those shares is sold short. So 1/3 of people who own shares or who hold the shares are betting the company doesn't succeed, whereas 2/3 of the people are betting that the company succeeds. So I find that very interesting. So Fisker, I said, hey, needs to go out there and publicly fight not just this short seller, but all short sellers, and really go on the offensive. Do everything they can do to to take them down. The best thing they could do for their stock price is to get every one of those short sellers, or a large percentage of them, to buy the stock back at a higher price. So they have to find a way to trigger a short sale. However they're going to do it, maybe they'll never be able to do it, but I believe that they can if they do a variety of different things. And Fisker, two of the 8 things or so that I suggested Two of them actually have already come to fruition. One of them was seeing the Fisker PEAR. Believe it or not, we saw the Fisker PEAR. We got a lot of good information about the Fisker PEAR. The less secretive the company is about the Fisker PEAR, the features on the Fisker Ocean, the stronger support they'll get with not only their investor base, but also with their loyal customers, their future customers. So the more information they can share and tell us about their products without giving too much away to competitors, the better off they'll be there. The second thing that Fisker has done, which I commend them, a lot, and I know there's other people who have suggested this as well, but it's insider stock purchases. It shows, even if they bought, a small amount of shares. So if we take a look, this was a couple days ago. We ended up getting, actually over the last 2 days or so, we've gotten four insider stock purchases. So we ended up receiving a stock purchase from both Henrik Fisker, who's the CEO, obviously, of Fisker, and his wife, who's the CFO and COO, Gita Gupta-Fisker. On Monday, December 5th, they purchased 33,700 shares. So just about $250,000 worth of stock they bought on the open market. And the the chief accounting officer, the CAO, John Finnegan, he purchased a small amount of shares, 450.095 to be exact, of Class A stock in the company. But nobody told him to go buy it. He bought it on his own. Small amount, but he did it. And then yesterday, on the 6th of December, we got another insider purchase from a director. So a board of director, Wendy J. Gruel, purchased 1,355 shares, and that was about a $10,000 purchase. So I find this actually pretty awesome, and it shows the company is listening to their retail shareholders. It gives me, and granted, some might say, oh, it's a small amount. They don't have to do this. This is like a very kind gesture. It's a very, hey, if I'm going to put my own hard-earned money to work, it's going to end up, I'm betting with you, the retail shareholder. Granted, Fisker, both Henrik and Gita Gupta-Fisker, they already own a huge portion of the company, so they don't need any more stock. So this is a cool gesture for them to go out there and do that. And then you have the CAO and a board of director going out there putting their hard-earned cash to buy stock. So pretty cool response. First response that we got, aside from the press release, this is another bit of heat, you could say, that Fisker's putting on short sellers. So saying, hey, you guys can bet against us. We're going to buy our stock. And this could potentially be the first of other purchases that these insiders do. And Fisker has a pretty big board of directors. So we've seen one director buy stock. Chances are we see another, maybe even more than another, buy some stock. So that'll be pretty interesting. We don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they do nothing, but it's a good sign that the company's listening. And clearly Fisker, Fisker buys the stock, and then you have a director buy the stock the next day. Chances are Fisker sent out the bat signal and said, hey, we're buying stock. If you guys can, if you have extra cash laying around, go buy stock. So maybe we'll see some more. Maybe we won't, but pretty cool. So insider stock purchases, that's pretty neat. We gave a couple other ideas of what Fisker could do to put the hurt on shorts. One of them was, a crazy idea, but and it's just an idea, would be kind of counterintuitive, and that would be a stock buyback program. Now you think a company who's using an at-the-market instrument to help fund operations, to do a share buyback, doesn't make sense, but it would do two things, or it would do probably more than two things. One, it will show short sellers, hey, we can use up our $800+ million of cash or cash equivalents to do other things we think create value, especially, hey, we think our share price is low. We bought stock ourselves during the open market. We're going to use cash from Fisker to buy the stock at a low price because we know the stock's going to be, or we think, we're betting that the stock will be higher in the future. So that I think could be something interesting. $100 million, $250 million, something outrageous. Buy back stock. Interesting idea. Who knows? And then the next one, I thought, hey, could the company potentially announce some sort of partnership for the Fisker Platform 3? Are they going to take a strategic investment from somebody at some point? Do they already have that lined up for whatever the next car could potentially be? So there's so many things. If short sellers are betting against the company if the company won't succeed, and each big news event can put the hurt on a short seller. So I'm sitting tight at every morning I wake up looking for press releases from Fisker, and maybe we'll get them, maybe we won't. But we gave our opinion. There's an article, if you look on our site, it says Fisker's response to short sellers. There's a couple ideas in there. I threw a couple more on the forum. Two of them came to fruition. Maybe we'll see a third. Maybe we'll see a fourth. Who knows? Some of them are pretty obvious. Did you guys have any ideas? I'm guessing you guys want to see Fisker succeed like I do. Have you thought of what Fisker could potentially do to put the hurt on short sellers? Or is that not? Yeah, I don't think about that stuff.
I'm not a stock person, so I don't know what to do. I mean, I think seeing the PEAR shows that they are working on producing the second vehicle. So it kind of tells them, we're not waiting for the Ocean to, start running and start making money off the Ocean to start on the PEAR. They've just already started to work on the PEAR. So that shows, kind of, we're not just going to sit back and wait. So that's good. Other than that, I really don't know much about how the stocks go. Like I said, I just buy low, sell high. That's all I do.
Whereas a short seller buys high and sells low.
Yeah. I'm not selling any Fisker stock unless I have to get some of the features I want on my car. But other than that, I'm holding on to them.
That's funny. What about you, Matt?
Well, I would say what they're doing so far is a pretty good, I guess, a way of confronting this issue. Personally, I don't think the stock buyback is a great idea at this point. But I think everything else they're doing, and maybe get more, like everybody's saying, get more examples of the Ocean, maybe more than what they're showing so far. But I think they need to get more clear information out to people. Yeah. I think that is one of the big issues. That a lot of people think things are kind of hidden. So they can definitely improve that.
Yeah, and many people would agree with this, and I agree with it. Somebody posted it on the post of the forums, but like the thing that's really going to hurt short sellers or people betting against the company is when the actual company starts producing revenue and then turns a profit. That's going to be, the biggest catalyst to tell people, hey, close your short position in the company. We're going to make it. We're going to succeed. We've not only started producing the vehicles, generating revenue, but at some point we're going to turn a profit. And we have a plan to do so. That's obviously the biggest, thing the company could do to shut up the people who keep talking negatively about the company. So that though is, that could be 3 months away. That could be 6 months away. That could be 9 months away. We do know though that the first 15 vehicles will be delivered this month. And as far as I know, those are going to be paying customers, and that they're paying customer, and that's going to be Magna. And then in February, when that global certification comes, we still don't know exactly when the earliest, what the earliest date will be for the first, individual customer delivery will be. We don't know, is that going to be end of February? Is that going to be, we don't know what date in February that certification is going to happen. It could happen on the 1st, it could happen on the 15th, it could happen on the 28th. We don't know. So depending on the date that certification happens would probably, dictate when the first physical individual customer delivery will be, not company being, fleet order. But yeah, that I think would be a very interesting moment as well, for the company. It's going to be a historic moment, just like the first vehicle rolling off the assembly line. The first even prototype on the high volume assembly line, that was kind of a historic moment. There's just been so many of them. And then the customer delivery, will Henrik and Gita and Burkhart, will the Fisker team show up at the door of the first person who gets the vehicle that's outside of Fisker Inc. And will the cameras be rolling and cameras, video cameras, point and shoot cameras, whatever, will they all be rolling, snapping, to capture what I believe will also be a milestone or historic, moment for the company, delivering the first car to an actual customer. Maybe they'll do that at Magna, for the fleet order, but that'll be like the first fleet order. Not as special, I don't think. Cool, but not as special as actually delivering it to my neighbor or your guys's, you guys on this live stream. That to me is a little bit more special. So that's it. That's what we think about the short sellers over here. And then that's what we learned a couple things tonight. We talked about the Fisker PEAR. We talked about some things we learned on the Fisker Ocean this week. We talked about your pop-up location coming to the Florida area, short sellers, insider, stock purchases. Did we miss anything? Are there any questions? I unfortunately didn't have a chance to look through all the comments as we were going.
I got one.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, I notice it gets asked fairly often, is the paint colors for the second half of 2023, is it possible that they may come earlier? We get that a lot, that question. Can we talk about the dates for the paint, or?
I have a photo somewhere. I have not successfully found that photo yet, but I do know for certain, and plans can always change, but when we were in Austria and hearing the executives talk about the paint booth and the paint, there was a slide on the screen that showed the paint options being broken up into 3 different phases. And we do all know that the first phase for the Fisker Ocean 1 customers is going to be the 6 paint colors that we're all very familiar with. I'm currently going to choose the Big Sur blue, which is a matte finish. It's the only matte finish in the, the 6 that will be the launch colors. Then we end up with 6 additional colors that are going to be broken up into 2 separate phases. You're going to have 3 in the second phase, and then an additional 3 in the third phase. I will get back to everybody. I'll do a good job to try to pull that information out. If I can't find it, I will use my best of my memory to write down what I believe the colors were. What they're supposed to be on the launch, and I'm going to actually shoot an email over to Fisker to confirm, so that we have the exact right information for one of the upcoming shows. So we'll get back to people on that one, and I'll go ahead and do an article on that one too, just so it's out there more widely. But yeah, they have a plan for that. 3 phases as far as I remember. And I don't think anyone who has the Fisker Ocean 1 is going to be getting the Solar Orange or the Stealth Green or, Marine Layer, any of the other colors that, may be popular. So we'll TBD on that one. Rosanna had a question about the solar sky roof, and she said, how was the solar roof, Sean? Was it sunny day when you drove it? And it was a sunny day. It was a very cold, sunny morning. And the sun was actually south of the track where we were driving the vehicle down that straightaway, where the sun was gleaming right in my eyes. And I would typically, when I go outside, I typically wear a hat. I didn't bring my hat to the test drive or to the Magna factory because I didn't want to be the only one wearing a baseball hat. So I opted for having the sun blind me in the eyes when I was driving. But surprisingly, with the sun, how it was positioned, it wasn't totally up directly above the vehicle, so it was more shining down. And then when we were driving through the slalom and over that simulated ice, and then going around the loop or whatever, the donut, or I don't know, whatever you want to call that thing. The sun, shined or shone through the solar panel a lot more than when I was going in the straightaway. Nothing to obstruct my driving. Nothing that I actually I was driving the car. I didn't even think about the sun shining on my face if it was on my face. I didn't. I think on some of the video that I watched, it was on my arms, the pattern. I didn't notice any of that. I was so focused on not crashing the car that I wasn't concerned about the light coming through the solar sky roof. So I think it's going to be more apparent when I take delivery of my Fisker Ocean and I do just a casual ride, down the 101 or go to the grocery store or the bank or wherever I may go. It'll probably be much more apparent to me because I'll be sitting at a traffic light and I'll be seeing, shadows through the solar sky roof. At that point, I'll tell you, does it bother me? But aesthetically, it looks amazing from the exterior of the vehicle. It looks really, really cool. Interior, it does look very neat. Seeing all the circuits and the crisscrosses, it does look really beautiful from the interior. It gives it a cool interior element. That said, I still would be completely happy with the other options, the open sky, probably having retractable all glass roof with nothing obstructing the view, or even the big sky roof looks pretty cool. Just one big solid piece of glass. That's very similar to the Tesla Model 3. So any of those would be fine with me. It is a nice add, having the additional mileage that you get, assuming you keep your vehicle outside to charge. And I think I've mentioned, for the people that follow along here, I park in a garage. I don't have the luxury of a driveway, so I park in a garage, and my car won't benefit much from that solar roof unless I'm doing a road trip or I'm at the grocery store or just driving around town to collect energy from the sun. The benefit, I live in a very sunny climate. The downside is I park my car in the garage. So Jim probably wouldn't benefit too much from a solar sky roof. Maybe you would, Matt. I'm not sure what the weather's like over in your neck of the woods, but you get a lot of snow,
good amount of sun.
Okay.
Yeah, we get a good amount of sun. But personally, I would say I park in the garage at work and at home, so it would be just like when I'm out shopping or somewhere in a parking lot. But
got it. So yeah, so that's what we know about the solar sky roof. It is pretty neat. I think everyone will love it. I don't think there's going to be a person that hates it. Somebody mentioned in the comments, they talked about the PEAR glass roof, and Jim, you wanted to talk about the rear of the vehicle of the PEAR, so we threw it back up.
Henry Lima actually sent that to me. He was wanting us to show this. This is what he believes that the back end of the Fisker PEAR is actually going to look like, and that it may be just covered with the vinyl wrap. I'd be kind of a cool thing, but I don't see, if that was all glass, I don't see any way for that glass to be able to go down or be able to get in access to the back. So it maybe there is glass on each side, but then there may be a small little pillar, maybe a black pillar on the corners there, so that it would separate, so the glass could go down, but make that look like it's a floating roof line. It's possible, but that was just what he saw, and he wanted to make sure that we shared that. So
cool. That's neat. And somebody had a question, or they really didn't have a question, but They said Canoe has curved glass. Why not PEAR? So we do know that the front windshield or the windscreen will have a curve. Question is what is the degree of the curvature of that particular piece of glass? And in the image that we showed earlier of the canopy or the jet fighter pilot, glass from the interior view, it does look like there's a lot of curvature. And we talked about how maybe in the front of the car, maybe some of that wrap covers some of the glass, up front more, to try to throw us off, to make it look kind of like maybe a Fisker Ocean, or who knows for what reason. But to try to hide some of that design element so that when we see the finished version, we're like, wow, that's really cool. That's pretty neat. That's pretty innovative. Than giving away all the secrets right now. That's the cool thing about the wraps. And I think actually, it might have been Natasha Fisker mentioned in the video. I think one of the videos of the behind the scenes at the Fisker office in Manhattan Beach. I think she might have talked about that, about the wrap and using the camo to not give away features and things like that. So if you guys haven't seen that, that's on the Fisker Inc. YouTube channel. Let's see here. Does anyone know if the Fisker Ocean will come with a roof rack or rails? So I'll take that one. You guys can share. They clearly don't have that as an option in the configurator, but if you go to the FAQ on the Fisker Inc. website, they still do talk about having a roof rack. So I would imagine they'll have one at some point. It might not be available for people at the beginning, but I think their intention is to have one at some point.
So we had seen like pictures and stuff of an off-road, like Baja style Fisker Ocean. So I wonder if it will be an option later on, or if that's just for, kind of special need type of things for different departments and stuff like that. Like, whether they'll do like something for like wildfire fighters and stuff like that. So that'll be pretty cool if that comes out. I mean, I doubt we'll have an option to buy that, but that's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, that is really cool. So let's see here. What else do we have? Yeah, I saw somebody said, oh my God, the trolls found the chat. There was a bunch of stuff that I just blocked. A little late, but hey, better late than never. So there's a question. Someone's in agreement. Yeah, Matt, we got to bring it to North Carolina. That was Todd. Thanks for following along and watching us. That would be cool, North Carolina, to see the Fisker Ocean there. Georgia going green, and yes, we hope that it does go to Atlanta. That would be cool. Somebody wants the solar orange on their Sport, but the money, yeah, it's $4,500, I think it was, right, for the Fisker Ocean in solar orange. That's going to be a premium.
$4,500.
Yeah, $4,500. That's a lot. That's a lot. And Jim, as I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, Jim actually did a video of that one. We'll post it this weekend, probably. Maybe tomorrow we'll post it. I was thinking for some reason that we're further in the week. Geez, these days are long. Long days.
Hey, I got another question.
Oh,
somebody
awesome.
wants to know about the warranty work for US, and I think, is it supposed to be Bridgestone or service centers, or that's still not official yet?
I think we have very limited information on that. We have heard, obviously Bridgestone makes the tires. We've heard, Bridgestone we know owns Firestone. We know that Fisker is going to be innovative, and instead of building lots of service centers, they're going to come to you to either pick up your car and take it somewhere and do the service, or they're going to bring the service station to you. The good thing typically, so we don't know exactly in the United States who's doing it. It could be Firestone, a part of Bridgestone. It could be, potentially a part of Cox Automotive. I haven't seen a definitive answer on that yet. So yeah, we still need to wait on that. But in the FAQ, I think I read, or in something I read, maybe it was the press kit. it did say that on November 18th, the day after start of production, they would actually have the maintenance, the servicing and all that stuff ready to go, set up, done, waiting for the first car to be serviced. Not that a car is going to need to be serviced on day one. And seeing as Fisker hasn't delivered any cars yet to customers, who knows if that's actually live or not. But they did say on November 18th they would have it ready. So chances are they may have it ready, and it's just sitting there idle. But I do know that a lot of those Fisker Oceans that we've seen roll off the line, Henrik did say, and they did mention, I think in a press release somewhere, that those are going to be used to train service technicians. So who knows where they sent those here, either to the US, to, throughout Europe, to train people. But Europe definitely has, they definitely have been very specific on the organization that's going to be doing the servicing of the Fisker Ocean. I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but they're big companies, multinational companies over there in Europe. So yeah, more information on that one. Somebody had a question, maybe you already answered this one. And I see this guy a lot. So hey, thanks for joining. You leave a lot of comments on the YouTube channel and on the Fisker site. So hey, thank you. It's I'm gonna butcher your screen name, but it's either Typo Master or Typo Master. And you say, do you guys think the front wraparound windshield is the final curvature? So when we talked to Henrik himself on our very first interview with him, he did say that they were in the process of working with their engineering team and specifically glass manufacturers to try to figure out the best way to support the curvature on the PEAR. So it may be a final version, but my guess is we're still early days here. That vehicle is not going to be in production until mid 2024. So that's a lot of runway, a good year and maybe a year and a half, maybe a little less, because they got to start, getting the supply chain ramped up. But yeah, I think we'll probably see, they'll probably make some changes to that design, but that's it's a prototype, right? Things are going to change. They're going to find out stuff works well or stuff doesn't work well, and they're going to change it. So who knows, maybe the glass will change. Maybe the rear trunk storage is going to change, or maybe the drawer doesn't work out in the front and they'll have to, do something else. Who knows? Time will tell. Let's see here. Jim has a image of that Baja looking Fisker Ocean with that roof rack up on the top with some LED lights, that looks like, as well, and some crazy hood and grille, as well as some big gigantic off-roading tires.
Yeah, that is the Fisker Ocean Adventure.
Nice.
And I thought, cool. I read somewhere that they confirmed an adventure line, but I'm not positive on that.
Yeah. Yeah, there was I can't even think of the name of it right now, but yeah, there was something like that. Henrik did say that they were gonna work on something like this at one point. I think I read an article a long time ago that they were a part of Baja Racing, or they were part of some racing circuit in the desert. Maybe it was in Mexico, I think. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, there was some sort of a racing Fisker Ocean or Fisker vehicle at one point. It was like electrical vehicle Baja Racing. So Rosanna had a question here. What did you think about the solar roof? Oh, we got that one. She goes on to say, let's see here, the shadows, I mentioned that one. Geez, I'm back in the wrong comments. When will the press cars be arriving in America? In a week or so? So that's a good question. And hey, Peter, thanks for joining us. I see Peter on Instagram all the time and on LinkedIn, and thanks for sharing photos with me as well. So the press cars, I don't know if they're going to do, there has been no talk of that I'm aware of press cars coming here to the United States, but it is entirely possible. It would make total sense to have other journalists and people in the media test drive the Fisker Ocean here in the United States, maybe near Fisker headquarters or some track maybe. I doubt you're going to be able to, step on the accelerator and hold it down to the floor on the streets of Los Angeles, but maybe maybe you can. And they'd probably bring it to some sort of a track, and I don't know what the closest track is to the Fisker headquarters, but maybe it won't be there. Maybe it'll be some other state, some other location. Maybe Las Vegas by the their international speedway. That could be a pretty cool place to do a test drive. And it's a great place for people to fly into. But yeah, maybe at some point we're going to get a lot of YouTubers and other people in the media that do automotive stuff test drive a Fisker Ocean, and yeah, that's TBD on that one. That'll be a pretty cool one to check out. So we're getting a lot of spam, it looks like, on our chat. Good thing we don't have these things on the screen. So let's see here. I think that's all. Maybe one more question here. How many pairs do you think will be produced in 2024? They always just like to talk about 250,000 a year to start, but I don't know how quickly it'll ramp. So it all depends probably when, and I did an article on this. I said, this is the reason why I would buy, or I would reserve the Fisker PEAR now if you have any interest in the vehicle. The last we heard on November 2nd, I think it was, or whenever the earnings call was, it was while I was away, there was more than 5,000 reservations for the PEAR. I'm not concerned about the company getting enough reservations to produce the PEAR. But the question is when in 2024 will production actually start? And then for those X number of months before the year ends, how many will they be able to produce? I think we're going to learn a lot from the rollout of the Fisker Ocean and the ramp there. And I think Fisker will be more seasoned by the time they get to the PEAR in order to better manage the supply chain, to ramp up as many and as quickly as possible. And Foxconn, don't forget, like Magna, they're, granted, Foxconn's really not mass-produced electric vehicles at this particular point. I think they've just started with the Lordstown truck. So that one, I don't know, that's going to be probably a good indicator, the Lordstown truck, of how fast Foxconn could probably ramp up any sort of electric vehicle. But I think I did an estimation. I think I did a quick run of the map in an article that I did, and it was titled like why I reserved a Fisker PEAR, why you should reserve a Fisker PEAR. And I think I said something like, 20,000 or 25,000 within 6 months of the first year. I think I was, pretty conservative. And I think I laid it out in that particular article. But, I think I also mentioned in that article, I recall the 200,000 cap that manufacturers had at the time. That was pre, the EV, what is it, the EV tax credit before that went away. I said, hey, you want to get your reservation in sooner rather than later because there's a cap, and that's all changed now as well. But I would say it's going to be somewhere between 20 and 30,000, assuming they have 6 months runway to produce vehicles. But check that article out, and thank you very much for following along. And they had a cool name too. It was Aptera Time. Aptera Time.
Hey, I see a question for you, Sean. They want to know, when you're in Austria, did they go over the Icon radar system?
They skimmed over it a little bit. They didn't talk too much about the ADAS or the ADAS or whatever you want to call it. They didn't talk too much about it. They said that was a feature. It was Burkhardt, the CTO, that talked about it very briefly. He talked about all the technology very briefly and said, hey, if you have more questions about it, come pull me aside afterwards. Not too many people pulled him aside of it afterwards. More people were focused on the test drive, the aesthetics of the vehicle. Not so much, I didn't see, at least in the room that I was in, people weren't pulling him aside to talk about all the technical details that I'm sure you two would have pulled them aside to talk about. Yeah, more, we don't have lots of details about that, unfortunately.
Out of spec, I think it may have been on their out of spec reviews channel. They actually had Magna talking about all of their different types of sensors and radars and things like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was really good. It was it talked a lot about some of the stuff that is being used on the Fisker Ocean, and then they also talked about some stuff that is not being used quite yet, like their LiDAR system. I don't think is being used yet, but it's going to be the next thing after these digital radars. It was interesting to actually hear them talk about how when you get all of those sensors and radars, all like a traffic light, they all are basically like interfering with each other. And that was where the digital radar system is actually going to be better, because it kind of makes it look like it's something completely different than all of the other sensors fighting against each other. It'll still be able to be used and seen without any issues. That was pretty cool.
That is neat. Yeah, I got to watch that one. I saw a quick write-up on that. Or maybe I saw it in some video of yours or something, but I did see that. I got to check that out. Somebody did have a question. Rosanna had a question. What do you think about the taco tray? Did you get to see them? I did get to see them. I got to play with both of them. Both sturdy. Not a lot of space to do stuff, but enough space to hold up a laptop or put your food on, to work from. So it'll be interesting to see if a lot of people use that or not, if that's just a gimmick, or if it's usable. The one in the one in the driver's seat, I could see people using it if you eat a lot of fast food or you like to eat in your car. It would be definitely useful there. Also, if you like to use a computer in your car. I know I've done it countless times where I'm working. A lot of salespeople too work from their car, where you have the laptop sometimes on the center console and you're typing. It'd be easier if it was on a little kind of table right in front of you. In that case, the driver's side taco tray, and you'd be able to type a lot easier. So I could see it being very good for sales teams. That might make it very appealing for people who are in charge of buying cars, for, fleet cars. Hey, we're going to give this to our whole sales team because it's like super useful for sales professionals in the field to work from. So something to think about. But yeah, I think that's neat. Definitely a cool feature. Be interesting to see if I actually use it. But yeah, it's pretty neat. And let's see here. What about it? Let's see here. What about if there was storage under the seat? So we do know there is storage under the seat. And Jim actually introduced us to the storage under the Rivian seat. And then just like the week after, we ended up getting a shot of it from our guest reporter over in Paris at the Paris Motor Show, of the storage compartment on the driver's side and passenger side of the Fisker Ocean underneath the front of the seats. And there's definitely storage in there. How usable is it going to be? It's probably easier to access if you're outside the vehicle. You have your car door open and you can shove stuff in and out. I put my hand down under there and fidgeted with it, but I didn't have anything to put in there. I don't carry maps or things that one might put under the seat. I know that there was lots of when that thing appeared over at the Paris Auto Show, there was a lot of people talking about, when a cop pulls you over and people reach for their registration down there.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I knew that's what you were gonna say. There's a lot of places where you can put your registration and your insurance card in the vehicle. In the center console, there's a storage area. There's also the storage compartment where the taco tray on the driver's side would be for the people who have the Extreme or the Ocean One. So there's other places to put it. You don't have to use those.
What would have been nice is if on those that they had like a lock on them. So you could actually use that as a lockbox underneath the seat, which,
Yeah,
you know,
like an
that would be
iPad
beneficial.
yeah. And maybe they will. Maybe they will. Or maybe that could be an aftermarket part you can buy. Swap it out. Who knows? That would be pretty cool. So let's see here. That's I think that's all the questions that I think I see. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Do you, Jim and Matt, do you have anything else you want to share? Anything else that we want to talk about in episode 9? Or we calling this one?
I actually do.
Excellent. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
For all the people going next week to the Orlando show, I want to see if anybody can get a photo of under the steering wheel area and the pedals, because I want to figure out what they're doing with the hood release. Is there going to be like some little hidden compartment or cover? Because they have to have a release somewhere. And it would be in that area somewhere between the pedals and the steering wheel. So if somebody can get some pictures of the under area there, because I really haven't seen anything like that, that would be awesome. And also the yeah.
I was just gonna say, I don't. Which manufacturer? Mercedes or one of them that you can't open the hood, or the BMW?
Mercedes and BMW.
Okay, so I watched a video, and a guy, he opened the hood of the BMW, and it's not a hood release underneath the steering wheels. There's actually 2 pins underneath where the grill is, that they actually pop those 2 pins, and then that lifted up the top. So it's possible there may not be one underneath there.
True. Yeah, I know Mercedes does. Mercedes has a panel that you need to unscrew, and then you can access it. Yeah, so it just totally depends on how it's designed, I guess. The other thing I want to see is the trunk subfloor area. I've seen a few, like some angled shots of the area, but it's like a 2-layer. There's like the subfloor, and then there's a part closer to where the bumper is that goes deeper. And I want somebody to get like a really good photo looking down on that, because I haven't seen anything that really shows the detail. So I'm trying to figure out what you could put in there, or what would fit in the subfloor.
Pizza.
But yeah. But yeah, that's the 2 things I was just interested. If anybody's going to the Orlando event, take a bunch of pictures is always a good thing for us.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, I have and it's not probably what you're looking for. If you're looking for the hood release, you probably take different photos. But I do have a shot, and you probably have already seen it, or maybe you haven't. But I'm going to share the screen real quick, just for fun, of at least the pedals. But I'm sure we've all seen this shot before, so it's probably not too exciting. They don't have a
play and a pause button on them.
Like your ID4, right?
Yeah, mine didn't come with it. I ended up buying them and putting them on because my wife wanted them. But yeah, the first editions had the play and pause buttons.
Yeah, it's hard to see under there. It's just kind of...
Yeah, you would have to go real far underneath the...
It would probably be... Yeah, it would be most likely somewhere along that side of the door panel underneath the dash there, above the foot pad there. Be somewhere up in there.
And that's one of the Easter eggs, actually, right there, is that design pattern where you would rest your foot. One of the Easter eggs. There's six other design Easter eggs in the vehicle for those that are interested. So cool. That's anything else?
Hang on. Oh. Can you zoom in on the buttons there on the dash? Where it looks like where your headlights and stuff would be.
I probably have a clearer one, but we'll try this. Let's do it.
Is that?
I think it's just a light.
Is that the electronic parking brake? It looks like that's the electronic parking button.
Oh, on the right? Yeah, it does look like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just wanted to say, I thought that's what that was, and I have never seen them up there before. It's usually in the center console somewhere. So it's like fog lights. parking brake.
Oh, we're getting
It's
more
something like
questions
that.
now.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So you know what we should do? One of these times.
You need to cut off.
Yeah, one of these times, maybe next time might be fun if there's nothing to talk about. One of these weeks when there's nothing to talk about, we'll pull up all the 500 photos that I took, and we'll just go through them and we just look at stuff, because there's probably stuff in there that you guys haven't seen, or maybe you have, and you'll probably be able to spot it better than myself. So we'll do that. That'll probably be a fun thing to do. Cool. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, including my guest hosts, Jim from OSR Garage and Matt from Tesla Tips by Mountain Ranger and Ocean Views, wearing his cool Black Friday Fisker Ocean shirt. I forgot to mention that at the top of the show. But thank you, everybody, for listening along on the podcast streaming services as well. This is, once again, All Things Fisker, episode 9, and we will talk with you guys again in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take care.